Hi, guys. Welcome to our first reading of our hybrid text set, The Flight of the Honeybee by Raymond Huber. It's illustrated by Brian Lovelock. So, we want to just remember that a hybrid text set includes both fiction and nonfiction. So, in this particular story, we have a descriptive story about a honeybee's journey, a honeybee named Scout, and we have a lot of nonfiction and information given to us about honeybees. And here we go. The illustrations are beautiful, and it looks as though they are watercolors. The honeybee is one of the smallest creatures in the world, but it may be the most important for life on Earth. It is the planet's greatest pollinator, moving pollen from one point to another, causing flowers to produce seeds and fruits. Honeybees can live in the wild or in boxes made by beekeepers. A honeybee can't live alone. It's part of a family that works closely together. A bee is always changing jobs. First, she is a cleaner, then a babysitter, a builder, a guard, a scout, and finally, a harvester. This is the story of a scout. Flight of the honeybee. A bee the size of a cherry pit crawls from the hive. I'll scoot it over so you can see her crawl out of the hive. Her stripes glow golden in the morning sun. Scout has spent her whole life in the crowded hive. Now it's time for her to fly and explore the world. Time to search for flowers from which to collect pollen and nectar for food. Her sister bees are inside making honey. But will there be enough? The cold is coming and Scout must find the last flowers of the fall. Now the small font. There are about 50,000 female bees in the hive and very few males. Scout's wings hum to life, so fast that they're almost invisible, lifting her into the wide sky. She rises in a spiral, up and away from the hive. Scout remembers what she passes as she flies, so later she can find her way home. She knows the sun will help guide her too. The small font. Bees navigate using sunlight. They also use landmarks and smells. They also have magnetic senses, so they literally have a compass built in. Scout flies swift and straight as an arrow. The wind buffets her, ruffling the fine hairs on her face, but she keeps on steadily and rides out the rapids. Eyes as black as polished stones are searching, seeking a splash of color below. And I want to pause for a moment to point out all of this figurative language just in this one paragraph. We have so many similes or comparisons. She's flying, they're comparing her flying to an arrow. Her eyes, they're not really polished stones, but they're as black as polished stones. So keep an eye out or an ear out for more figurative language in this book to help with the description. It's making a movie in our minds. An arresting smell drifts on the breeze. Scout locks onto the scent. She flies over a clearing and spread before her a marvelous meadow, an ocean of flowers. Down in this small font, bees are furry, even their eyeballs. Their hair helps them sense the changing in the wind. Bees have a very powerful sense of smell. They use their antennas to pick up smell. They can smell in stereo, each antenna smelling in a different direction. So far, we've learned an awful lot about Scout. We've also learned about honeybees. I think how the book has been broken up is the larger words, the larger font tell the story of Scout, and the smaller font is providing us the facts and information about honeybees. A flash of feathers. A hungry blackbird swoops him for the kill, but Scout zips down and escapes into the trees, weaving between tangled twigs. Many creatures eat honeybees, including other insects such as wasps, dragonflies, as well as spiders, frogs, birds, and larger mammals such as bears and badgers. When the coast is clear, Scout is drawn to the sea of flowers again. She settles on a velvety petal and plunges her head into the flower. Here is a sunken treasure, a cup of sweet nectar. The tip of her tongue, shaped like a miniature spoon. She sips the syrup. Scout zigs and zags from flower to flower, spreading pollen around. The pollen clings to her fuzzy body, a sprinkle of sun powder. Down here, the small font. Bees are charged with static electricity during flight, which attracts pollen to their bodies. They also have an extra stomach to carry nectar home. Scout has finished her drinking. She must tell her sister bees all about this field of blue, but a thundercloud cloaks, covering all the sun. All at once the cloud bursts. Rain batters Scout to the ground. She crawls under a leaf as hailstone bombs explode all around her. Bees avoid rain and storms. Raindrops can damage them and chill their wing muscles, leaving them grounded. The downpour passes. Scout picks up the scent of her hive and follows it. Outside of the hive, there's a squad of guard bees. A yellow jacket enemy and is attacking. Scout knows that twitchy way of flying. It's a wasp. The wasp grabs Scout as she glides into land. It raises its stinger, but the guard moves in, wrestling the wasp with their legs. A small font. Honeybees sting only to defend themselves. They will die after stinging larger animals. Wasps invade hives to eat honey and eat baby bees. So, gosh, so far we've got our poor little Scout who has been attacked by a blackbird, a hungry blackbird, then stuck in a downpour. Now a wasp is attacking her. I wonder if she'll make it back to the hive. Let's read and find out. Scout is safe inside the hive at last. She begins a dance on the honeycomb. An audience gathers, captivated by the floral scent on Scout's body. Scout spins a story in a dance. Every movement is a sentence. Scout waggles, twists, and turns. She is describing the route to the blue meadow. She pauses only to share samples of sweet nectar. Scout repeats her dance for many sister bees. The bees' dance is a complex language that can communicate millions of different messages. Now the sister bees know where to find the meadow. Hundreds of bees take off. They flick from the hive like golden pebbles. Bees need to harvest nectar from more than 2 million flowers to make enough honey to fill just one jar. Back in the hive, Scout passes her precious nectar to the house bees. They put it in the comb and fan it with their wings. The nectar will be transformed into liquid gold, honey for the bees to eat. Nectar is mostly water. That is, until the bees dry it with the flaps of their wing, turning it into honey. Scout visits the nursery where babysitter bees pluck the pollen from her body and mix it with honey to feed the babies. Nearby sits the queen, long and lustrous. She is the mother of all bees, laying eggs that look like tiny grains of rice. The queen can lay thousands of eggs a day. It's the job of a few male bees in the hive to fertilize a new queen. Exhausted after her mission, Scout rests her silvery wings for a spell. Soon she will join her sister bees in the blue meadow for the fall harvest. With enough honey, her family can now survive the winter. Scout's daring flight has been worth every beat of her wings. In its lifetime, a bee can travel more than 500 miles, or 800 kilometers, for flower runs until its wings eventually wear out. And here we have a bit of a note from the author. Save the bees! Pollination by bees gives us delicious apples, cherries, strawberries, nuts, and many vegetables. But honeybees are in danger of dying out. You can help bees by giving them food and clean places to live. Plant a variety of flowers, herbs, and flowering trees. Don't use toxic chemicals in the garden. Don't pollute air and water. These steps will also help other pollinators such as bumblebees, butterflies, small native bees, and other insects. And over here it says, look up the pages to find out about these honeybee things. Don't forget to look at both kinds of words. This kind, so it's the big font, and this kind, the little font. Because remember, that is telling us the difference between the fiction, the realistic fiction and made up part of the story, and the real life facts and nonfiction part of the story that we're learning. So we know that this author is passionate about bees. Why did they write this story? To persuade us or convince us or something, inform us about something, or entertain us and be entertaining and funny. It can be a combination. They wanted to inform us definitely about bees. They want to, in this part, persuade us to protect the bees and what bees can do for us. But there's also an entertainment portion because it's telling us this story about Scout. So, in essence, it can be all three. The author uses the different kinds of prints to tell the difference between the real honeybee parts and the story of Scout. And similar to what we do in the classroom, we normally do this on chart paper, but Flight of the Honeybee by Raymond Huber and some of our noticings. We've noticed that the author tells a story about a honeybee named Scout. We've noticed that there are real facts in this book about honeybees. We've noticed that the bigger print tells us a story about Scout, while the smaller print is giving us information about honeybees, the nonfiction portion. And there's an index. We love indexes. It tells us where to find things, where to find information and facts about the honeybees within that book. Well, thanks for listening, guys.